again, I've got to get some new batteries for the microphone. It's not working. Yes, the microphones work. These microphones work. What do you mean better sound? Yes, I've got batteries upstairs. Okay, now, no one can sit here because this microphone doesn't work. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? Skip 4. Pardon? Skip 4. Skip 5. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 doesn't work. Okay.
We got to be in the order.
4, 5. The big comfy chair.
Why are these on? Turn the pick up in front of you there, the red button. Yeah.
What is the?
Turn all these off.
guess it's on Chip's equipment, I don't know. That, not too long.
They don't
All
need
right.
much, they don't need
Yeah.
much.
We've got microphones, but why do we have to go there? Why can't we speak from here? Right here, these work, stay here.
I'm fine speaking right here. Whatever works.
Well, I can't. Oh, okay. Well, we can do it that way. All right. I'd like to begin this session with an opening prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for all the blessings that you've given us here in this country and in our village of Batavia. We ask that you be with us during our discussions here when we're expressing our free speech to get to the free elections. Bless these candidates who have stepped forward to accept these positions. And in our discussions this evening, we ask that we all be kind, be patient, be respectful of others as we divulge the information being passed along so that we can make a better educated selection at election time. So thank everybody for coming, and we'll get started here. This is kind of peculiar, but we'll go with it. My name is Dan Haglage, and I live in Batavia. I've lived here my entire life, except for the 3 years that I was in the Marine Corps, and they wouldn't let me stay in Batavia. I asked, but they had far places for me to go. I've lived here with my wife Barb of 52 years. You want to stand up? It's my wife Barbara. 52 years. 52 years. Anyway, we raised our 3 children here, and they loved it. And now we have our 11 grandchildren that come and visit us, and they love the freedom of being able to go over to Main Street, get a ice cream cone at UDF, or sit in the park, or even go down to the river and throw rocks. So it's Batavia's been a great place that we've loved and will continue to love. I ran for council and was elected a few years back, and it was a great experience. But in my campaigning, I had always hoped that I had some type of a forum where I could talk to people and tell them what my vision was, what my goals were. But there was not such a forum, which is one of the reasons that we're doing this tonight. It's a win-win situation. It gives the candidates the opportunity to talk to us, and it gives us the opportunity to understand what they're saying so that we can make a better decision. Every 4 years, there are 4 seats open on the council, and every 2 years after that, it's the mayor and 2 seats. This happens to be the cycle where there are 4 seats open, and as you can see, we have 7 here, but we actually have 8 candidates running for the 4 positions. Does it work, Eric? Thanks, man. So we have 8 candidates running for the 4 positions, and it's going to be great to hear from them. It's a win-win situation. Let's see, the agenda. Before we get to the agenda, I just want to express my thanks to the candidates. You know, it's not easy doing this. It's hard. It's hard work. and for them to put their everything out about themselves. I think they've got a lot of courage. I'd like to hear a round of applause for our candidates. It's great to have you here. Now, as for the agenda is going to be twofold. The first part is going to be the presentations by the candidates themselves. We've given them up to 8 minutes. Some will be 8, some will be less than that, I'm sure. We thought we ought to limit it at 8 minutes because anything after that, we might be looking at home vacation movies or their pet dog tricks or other things. So we limited it 8 minutes. The second part then is going to be questions, and I've got a couple of questions that I'm going to, just in generic type questions that I'm going to throw out to get things started. After that, feel free if you have questions that you'd like to ask. Go ahead and consolidate your thoughts, and we'll get to you for your questions for the candidates. I think that's about all we've got here before we actually get into it. I will say that the candidates have drawn numbers, which is their speaking to determine their speaking order. And so we've lined up 1 through 7, and we have a reading for the 8th candidate, and we received that reading about an hour ago, and we'll be reading that for the 8th candidate. So let's see, before we go any further, let's get started in the agenda with our first speaker. And our first speaker is Jason. You drew number 1, so you're breaking the ice.
Hi, everybody. Can I get a show of hands of how many actual people are here from the village tonight? Just curious. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And for those who don't know me, I am, this will be my 3rd term running. I have been elected 2 other times. I have been vice mayor under Mr. Thiebout and now under Mr. Moore. And while our council doesn't really have a chair per se other than the mayor, I am currently the longest standing, and now that Kathy Turner is no longer with us, I'm the longest standing council person for the village. So I have been here since 2014 and watched a lot of things change. Biggest change that you can witness right now is this building. We got to a point where the original mayor's office had to be rehabilitated, needed a new roof, needed updated to code, elevators, all of that. It was going to cost a lot of money, and we were able to say, hey, if we have to do that, then what about saving the armory down in the village? And we were able to make that happen, and it's been a wonderful addition to the village and a safe space for people for lots of uses, as police department and all. I have a short list of things that have been improved upon. Well, once again, going back to myself, my wife and I moved here in 2006, raising 6 kids, 4 of which are gone, out of high school. I have 2 in the school still. Sorry, my mother's here. Didn't know she was coming. But we've raised 4 kids we've pushed through the school so far. My oldest is 30, and since we've gotten here, 3 grandkids and 3 more babies since 2006. So my youngest is 5th grade. Sorry, Mom got me. But my wife and I, you may know Carrie. She runs the Ridge Club, or formerly known as the Ridge Club, the pool formerly known as the Ridge Club. Some may know her. We've taken that under our wing and turned that into a very strong and very healthy club that was on the ropes, like multiple times on the ropes, ready to be shut down. And now we have managed to, while I'm not on the board, Carrie and the board have managed to really bring that place back, and she's a big part of the village. Together we run a business out of the village, have been since 2019. So we're business-minded individuals, entrepreneurial individuals, and constantly looking for ways and ideas to help the village come and keep the momentum going, and what's it going to take to get us to a place where we can attract people to overtake Main Street and make it a vivacious business center again. That has been the primary concern of everybody I've spoken to since the day I got involved here, is why doesn't council want businesses on Main Street? And my only answer is well, of course we want businesses on Main Street. Why would that be the perception? And I've worked very hard to change that perception over time, but in order for these businesses to survive, we've tried multiple business plans. We've fended off people that were just opportunists looking to score buildings cheap. Fortunately, we were able to prevent things from happening from that perspective most often. There's still one sitting there that's the thorn in my side, but we're doing what we can. But the primary problem is what's it going to take to make those businesses survive? What's it going to take to make the village and Main Street a place that people want to invest literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring these historic buildings back to life and get them back to a white box so that they can be up to code and then be branded as a business in the village. And after the time that I've been here, what we have learned as a group, council past and present, is that we have to have rooftops in order to have individuals who will then shop in our downtown area. Everything else has failed. Every other attempt has failed. So that is why you're hearing about the apartment complex in the village. That is why you're hearing about these things. Yes, it's going to change the complexion of our village. No, it's not going to be the little 200-year-old, community that it's been. It's not going to be the same. It's not, but it's on an upward trajectory rather than just a stagnant and somewhat questionable fiscal situation. But since I've been here, Public Works Department, we have, according to Wayne, we have overhauled 80%. I asked him today, what have we gotten done? We've overhauled 80% of the streets and they have new storm sewers, water mains, curbs, and sidewalks, and that number is growing. We have purchased multiple new items and equipment for the Public Works Department. The Police Department, when I took chair for the Safety Committee, our salaries were laughable as compared to other districts, other municipalities in the region, and we've worked very hard to get them to be competitive so that we can attract a different type of officer rather than someone straight out of the academy. We started saying what we need are people who are in the middle of their career, who want to live in an area like ours. They aren't looking to rock hop and go to the next best thing. And getting the salaries up attracted those type of people, and now we have officers who fit that bill and who are here for the long term, and it's worked out very well. The village in general, we found, well, I already mentioned this building. We were able to pull off the major feat of taking over this building rather than overhauling the old post office. It took 10 years, but we finally turned the water and sewer over to county. We had to do multiple improvements to the streets, or to the sewers and those systems in order for county finally to agree, I think just this year or late last year, to take over the water and sewer for the village, which in turn saved everybody in the village the projection was 30%. I'm not sure if that is the number that everybody's seen, but that was what it was supposed to render us. It was a 30% saving once all that was done. Also including the increase in the housing stock. The way that I phrase this here for myself so I could remember, we've increased the residents. We've not had to ask for additional taxes because of the additional residents, but also those additional residents dilute the tax levies that we see. They dilute the burden on every household. The more there are, the less everybody has to pay. So it's not necessarily a negative from that perspective, even though people try to paint it as a negative that we've increased housing. The positive side is that the levies are affected positively for everyone. We've held our debt. Interestingly, we've been accused of our debt being high. I want everybody to know here and now that I would love to be able to say that my household itself operates at a 10 to 15% debt to income ratio, but that's where the village lives. That's a very, very strong number for any municipality. If you were to subtract our pass-through income that is tied to the subdivisions that have been built, that number gets down to between 8 and 10% debt to income ratio, or actual debt that the village is responsible for. So it's been a good run. It's been a good 10 years. We're headed in the right direction. And I believe that the formula that we have now, with the addition of households, rooftops, and the apartments, it's going to positively affect the historic village in a manner that it will. My goal and my vision has always been, since I started talking to people, that it needs to be kind of the epicenter, I phrased it as, for the township, as much as the village, for culture, for the historic aspect of it, the culture, the business side of all of that. It can be all of those things, much like in Old Milford, much like a Loveland, and what they've done. And in both of those cases, they had to add population to the space in order to see that success. So while it's been a long time, for me on this council, I aspire to stay involved because there are a lot of plates spinning, there are a lot of wheels turning, there are a lot of things happening, all good for all villagers. And between safety, between the strength of the street department and their budgets, it's a great place to live. It's become a significantly better place to live, and I really appreciate the opportunity to help grow and see that vision through. That let's change it from a Section 8 retirement community to something vivacious that's good for everybody, and make it a great place to live for all. So I appreciate you. I'll take that.
Good job.
Thanks.
Jason Gibson.
Are we doing questions?
No.
Okay.
In the second half. You're ready? Stay ready. There'll be a chance. Who's number 2? And our second speaker is Michael Gardner.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody coming out of here today, both village and township residents. It is important that we do acknowledge the township because they are our neighbors and we do need to work with them. So about myself, I have lived in Batavia since 2003. My family has ties to Batavia. My dad was raised in Batavia, graduated from Batavia High School. And I've lived here, like I said, for over 20 years. I'll get into a little bit more of that down the line, but first I'd like to get into why I'm running for council. Quite a few reasons, but the few main ones are the residential tax abatements. I know the village needs to do things to create income, to create money to survive, but the way that I feel the villages went about it is completely wrong. It's not fair to people in the village as well as people in the township. I really want to see the village focus more on business, and that doesn't just mean business right here in downtown Batavia, but also throughout our area, the village. And the biggest thing is our financial. When it's set up here and said that the village has all of this money, we're bringing in this money, we're not spending that much. Well, when you're bringing in so much in income tax and you're just about spending that amount every year, I don't agree with that's bringing in money to the village. because if it wasn't for those tax abatements, it would be a different story. And when you sit up here and say as council members that we have plenty of money and that we have employees that we need to pay, I agree with that. Our employees should be compensated well, but we gotta learn to live within our means and our spending in the village. And I know for a fact, because I did the research, that the village's salaries, excuse me, has went up 25 to 40% in the last 5+ years. That's well above any neighboring agency. I got a cold, I'm sorry. Neighboring agency and village comparable to Batavia, and it's well above the national average. So I think a lot of our spending is unnecessary. So my big things are going to be, again, financial mainly. And of course, you're gonna hear this probably numerous times, transparency. I am a firm believer in that, and I believe that the village needs to be more transparent within things that are going on in the village. Just not enough information is being put out. And probably this is gonna bring up not good things with myself, but most of you may know me. I was employed by the village for over 20 years. Starting in October of 1998. In July of 2003, I became the chief of police. I was the chief of police from then until December 2018. I could sit up here and go through a lot of the firsts that we did while I was the chief, but I'll just touch on a few. I was the one that got the SRO, the school resource officer at Batavia schools. I work with the schools to get that done. I had our first canine unit, and we had that done with me and the help of other officers at no expense to the taxpayers of the village of Batavia. We did all that through donations. So I feel that while I was chief, I was, of course, attending council meetings, finance meetings, safety meetings. So I know how the village operates. I know the village's finances, how they operate. I can't say that I know exactly what they are right now, but I know how they operate and they're supposed to operate. So with those things, those are the main reasons why I am running. And I will clarify, the last thing that I will say is that it is being put out there, even by a candidate behind me, that I was forced into resigning with the threat of being fired. I chose to resign. I chose to retire. I had had enough, and I decided to resign. I wasn't forced by the former mayor or the former council. I chose to leave. So if anybody tells you any different, they're a liar and they're wrong. Thank you.
Michael Gardner. Thank you, Michael. And now we have Tom Smith.
Yes, that is my real name. So, I've never run for office. I've never worked for the village, but I have been a teacher at Batavia schools for the last 10+ years. I love living in the village. I love being able to go for walks at night, not have to worry about it. You know, it's great. Walk with my wife and my son, take our dog for a walk. It's being able to sit on our porch and talk to our neighbors. I love that. I love living in the village. I think that's important, right? I think that's really important. That's, you know, if you want to boil it down, That's why I'm running, because I love living here. I love teaching here. I teach here at the high school. I go to church here at Real Life on Old 32, and I live here. That's why I'm running. And I think that's pretty simple, but I think that's important, an important starting point to know that. You know, I don't have any animosity towards anybody. I don't want to ever have any animosity towards other people. I love living here. I want to keep it a place that I love living. So I appreciate the historic nature of our community. You know, it's such a beautiful place to go for a walk. There's so many little different walks that we can go on every day. But I feel like we're in danger of losing some of that charm that we have, that we love, right? I'm currently, in my 19th year of teaching science and engineering at Batavia High School. I have my bachelor's degree from the University of Cincinnati. I have my master's degree from Wright State University. I also have a K-12 engineering education certificate, and I started the engineering program at Batavia. But before I did all of that, I managed a moving company. And it sounds odd. Why am I even mentioning it? It was a long time ago, right? But I managed a moving company. I started off doing moves. I was going to OSU. And I started doing, working there in the summer, doing moves. And they said, hey, make a commitment to us. And I did. And when I started, they had 3 trucks and 1 location. So I eventually became their claims manager, their sales manager. And I hated it. I hated it. I wanted to do something that was more fulfilling. But while I was there, the company grew from 3 trucks to 23 trucks to 3 locations to a multi-million-dollar business. And I feel like I was part of that. I was definitely part of that. When I left there, I gave them a 3-month notice when I quit. You know, who does that, right? And because I valued them. And I value this community, right? And all those experiences, whether it's teaching or being a claims manager, it is taught me how to communicate with people and to be genuine. I don't know about you, but I value people that are genuine. I try to be genuine. Not try. I am genuine. You can ask me anything. I'll tell you. I plan on, being transparent, being open about the decisions that are being made. I told my wife that I'm going to sleep well at night. I don't know that everybody does when they're in a local government, but I'm going to sleep well at night because I'm going to want to have conversations, not arguments with people. I'm not going to argue with anybody. We'll have conversations. Let's have conversations. Come by my house. Knock on my door. Sit on my porch and have a conversation with me. Tell me what you're thinking. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I plan on listening to what people want to do instead of driving home my own agenda. I think that's important. It's important to me. I value our schools. Not just because I work in the school district, but you see it every single day with freshmen as they come into high school. They're kind of awkward. They leave confident, educated, young adults. Man, there's a lot of value in that. You take that away, where these kids got? We have beautiful schools right now. You drive up there and see the school grounds. It's beautiful. We have a top-notch staff, right? A great staff up there. You know what brings people to a community? Schools, good schools, nice facilities. It's beautiful up there right now. I think we're in danger of losing that, right? We're going to add a bunch of houses and a bunch of people and a bunch of students with no money. I'm not for the residential tax abatements. People want to come here because of the schools, partly because of the schools. That's how you're going to see an area grow. I do believe we need more local businesses on Main Street, but they've got to be the kind that actually builds up our community and adds to its charm. We need to encourage the entrepreneurs to open shops, and I know we're trying that. We're trying, but I don't see it succeeding right now. We need to do something different. You know what they say, the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and, expecting different results. Well, we're not seeing any new results lately. I believe there's value in the struggle. I want to get that painted in my classroom at the school. There's value in the struggle. If you're not struggling a little bit, you're not growing, whether it's physically or spiritually or mentally. And I believe Batavia is struggling right now. And I'm ready to struggle with Batavia and grow in a way that makes our village healthy. One without residential tax abatements, without high-density housing. I honestly don't know exactly what can be done at this moment. But I'd like to get rid of it. I'd like for it not to be there. I've chosen to build my life here because it's a great place to live. It is. I live here, go to church here, I work here. I want to serve my community. I think that right now we have these separate entities. You look at the village and the township and the fire department, and the police department, and the schools, and they're all kind of their own entity. Man, why can't we come together and just lift people up, right? I had a vision a long time ago where I would love personally to go around and we've painted our neighbor's garage, we rake their leaves, right? And imagine a community where everybody's looking out for each other and doing that on a daily basis. What a great place to live. Why can't we have a community that lifts each other up instead of pointing fingers at the township, pointing fingers at the village, pointing fingers at the school? Well, we're all in this together, I believe that one of the things that we need to do is have fiscal responsibility. It's a lot of it's common sense stuff to me. It feels like it anyway. You look at your own household on a daily basis, maybe not daily, but monthly, we're looking for ways to spend less and make more. It seems pretty basic to me. And I think that running a deficit, of millions of dollars is not a healthy way to run a small village. I want to make a change for the better, and I hope you do too. And if you ever want to talk about an issue, I'm here for you. And honestly, I want your vote. And I'm not just saying things to get a vote. I'm saying this because I love this place. And I think that matters. Thanks.
Tom Smith. Thank you, Tom. Next, we have Michael Kinner. It's all yours, Mike.
Good evening, citizens and guests of the great village of Batavia. Thank you, Mr. Hagledge, and those who helped plan this event. It is an honor and pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself and give my insight into why my background and experience will serve our village. I am Michael Kinner. I have been a village resident for over 55 years. My family has lived here since the early 1800s. I'm a dedicated husband of 34 years to my wife, Jamie, a father and a successful business owner in our village. I was raised in our village and graduated from Batavia High School in 1982. I attended the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut and the University of Cincinnati. I completed my college education and earned my Bachelor's of Science degree in Agriculture and Business from Fort Hays State University in Hays, Kansas. Throughout the trail of my education and employment, I've held multiple positions which directly contributed to my qualifications to support and make decisions for the operation of our village. One particular position was a field technician and supervisor with the engineering firm G.J. Thielen and Associates. Thielen was a leader in geotechnical engineering for residential and commercial development. My responsibilities included site inspections, performing material testing, developing testing methods, and supervising construction job sites while overseeing the completion of tasks and projects of multiple technicians. Projects I supervised included public highways and bridges for Claremont, Hamilton, and Warren counties, as well as the states of Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, along with such private companies as Kroger, General Electric, and many others. I am a licensed I'm a licensed insurance agent in the state of Ohio and several other states. I've practiced independently for over 25 years. I'm known for representing my clients with integrity and compassion, and do so for personal, commercial, and Medicare insurance. I'm also recognized as a specialist in public entity work for property and casualty and employee benefit programs. I previously represented the village of Batavia for many years. I believe in full transparency, because we're all sharing that. To clearly show there were no conflicts of interest in my plans, I previously resigned from representing our village when I was a candidate for village council in the last election. Resigning was the appropriate course of action to alleviate any potential conflict while running for office. Through my work and the insight it provides, I am knowledgeable of property owned by our village, as well as the potential liability and financial risks associated with them. A significant portion of insuring a public entity is understanding the finances and expenses, along with the daily operations. I have no doubt that fiscal responsibility is the forefront of my work and always guides my process from start to finish. The term fiscal accountability sounds impressive, but when it comes to politics, it can often be just a talking point. I assure you, it is not simply a talking point to me, it is a necessity. In a time of growth such as we're experiencing at this moment, it is clear to see how my expertise, knowledge, background, and resources will be of great benefit to help make the decisions necessary for our village. I believe in collaborative dialogue, full transparency of goals and processes to assist in leading the village of Batavia in a direction with sincerely the benefits and represents the needs and voices of all residents. I hope to earn your trust and vote of confidence as the candidate for village council. One of my goals as your council representative is to evaluate all village spending and create a system of measures which will determine how the existing debt can be best paid down and be kept from accruing to such a level again in the future. I also believe in distributing revenue received to the proper recipients, such as the schools, emergency services, senior services, and all others. We can understand nostalgia and the feelings it brings, something from our past that to us was a better time and better place, something that created an environment of community. It brought us all together as village residents and our neighbors, working towards a common goal of making our community better. There didn't seem to be an us versus them. I know we have township and village residents here. Perhaps right now I am myself being nostalgic and naive, pining for the good old days. Unfortunately, it seems that difference of the past have now exponentially increased to a toxic level of argument and dissent. Rather than communication, dialogue, and striving to achieve common goals. Perhaps there are those that believe we aren't able to come together as a community and work to be a great village as we once were. That mentality is one I refuse to accept or follow. Will there be setbacks and disagreements? Absolutely. There will, and we will not always receive answers or outcomes we want, but we can agree to work with morality and civil debate. I promise this is what I will do for our community. There are many decisions local governments make that affect others. These can often be hard decisions. What is best for one isn't best for all. These decisions must be thoroughly thought out and given consideration for how everyone in our community will be affected, even if it seems to be the best decision for the group making it. In virtual silence and lack of transparency, with direct opposition to community input, this village government made decisions which have become an overbearing burden on residents, not just from a financial standpoint, but one of personal freedom as well. I've heard it said annexations and tax abatements taken on by this village were necessary to prevent the village from dying. Well, from my perspective, and many that I've spoken to, much of the village had already has lost its fervor and attractiveness quite a while ago. Simply paving Main Street and adding attractive decorations has not been the answer. I won't use the word dead, as I believe our village isn't. We're in a rut, a time of change, a gray area, a transformational time period. Batavia once had a vibrant Main Street. Can we bring that vibrant Main Street back? That is a very good question, and we so desperately want to answer with a sincere yes. The answer is we can never bring back exactly what was lost, nor do I believe we would want to. We can, however, as a village council and as a community, work together with the current businesses and building owners, along with our residents and neighbors, to create a new vision of what our Main Street should look like, one that can serve all of our community and bring people together. While it may not be possible for many to attend meetings, kind of like tonight, I feel it is our responsibility to make sure the voters have current, accurate, and expedited information of matters being undertaken on their behalf. Every meeting, whether council or committee, should be available for viewing via the internet. Each of these meetings should be recorded and transcribed as part of the record, so there are never any questions as to the discussions which have been held or who may be affected by the outcomes. We can and must use technology to bridge the divide. As you can see, my common theme is that we all need to work together. I'm not saying I have the answers to resolve all of our village problems, but from my perspective and that of many whom I've spoken with and support me, we can see what has created this great divide in our community and the processes of those who have done so. We desire to end that divide and bring back an open, honest, and completely transparent culture to the leadership of this village that hopefully touches us all, each and every member of our community. We must come together to talk to one another and share ideas and relevant solutions in an effort to make Batavia a strong and prosperous community once again. A vibrant, welcoming, inclusive community, not one where some are seen as outsiders. While each of us can have opinions about what our village government's purpose can be, that purpose can only be moved forward with open dialogue between all of us in as transparent a manner as possible. I welcome the participation of all my fellow Batavians when determining our combined future, whether it be a revitalized downtown business district, village-wide improvements, or controlled, planned, well-thought-out, reasonable growth, which I believe we all desire. I promise to professionally and properly represent all of our citizens and to personally listen to you. Your voice is important. Your voice is our community. Today I ask you for your voice, your vision of the future, and your vote of confidence on November 4th. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Michael Kinner. Thank you, Michael. Our next speaker is John Waite. It's all yours, John.
Thank you. My name is John Waite. I moved to the village in 1978. Got two sons, both of whom graduated from Batavia High School. I love the village. I think the schools did a terrific job with my children, and we supported the schools. My wife was president of the PTO when my kids were in school. I have been the fiscal officer for the Village of Batavia since 2013. Before that, I have been on and off council since 1986. I have a bachelor's degree, an MBA, and a law degree from the University of Kentucky. I was a member of the Kentucky Bar. Before taking the job as a fiscal officer, I was a bank vice president and a senior trust officer. I've had decades of involvement with the village council, and I have the knowledge and experience regarding how government works and how to accomplish things. A council member is one out of a group of 6. People that run for council aren't going to get things done by themselves. You have to work with the other council members and come up with a consensus as to where you want the village to go and how to get there. The success that you would have as a council member is for the council as a whole, for the village as a whole. There's no individual glory in being a council member. In fact, there's individual disdain sometimes. You get blamed for things when the whole council voted for them. The role of council is to determine the direction the village is going to go. So the council needs to work together and make some decisions. Where is the village now? Where do you want it to be in 5, 10, or 20 years? What's your strategy for getting there? What services are important to the village, and how are you going to pay for them? You need to establish some priorities to determine what services you're going to be able to provide and what services you can't afford. You need to determine what items need to be fixed, what improvements need to be made, and whether those are going to be made immediately when possible, and maybe at some point in the future. You've got to determine what policies you're going to operate under and determine if they're working or if they need to be fixed or changed or merely enforced. And you have to decide, what are the implications of doing nothing? Being in opposition is not a strategy. It doesn't accomplish anything. As Chief Financial Officer for the village, I have the knowledge and experience to know about sources of revenue, what our expenses are, what our cash flow is, what our debt service is, and what the village can afford and not afford to do. I was on council in the 1980s when the village didn't have the revenue to pay its employees. We had to lay off a police officer, a street department employee, and a water and sewer person. The fact that we currently are doing well is because we've had growth and development and have received revenue from that. I believe it is in the best interests of the village to continue with that. I support the schools and support providing them with revenue, but there's been an awful lot of misinformation about what's going on. The village is a steward of public funds. We can't just give away money. Giving money to the school without an agreement is not only improper, but it's probably illegal. And certainly the auditor of the state of Ohio would find such a disbursement to be subject to recovery, meaning that the person that writes the check would be personally liable for reimbursing all of that money to the village of Batavia. When we started development with Streamside, I sat in on the meetings with Mr. Millard and Dennis Nichols. The village wanted to provide money to the schools. Mr. Millard was unwilling to work with the village, and he walked away saying the school would accept nothing. Recently, the development at Bauman Lane and Taylor Road, the village again went to the school and said, we want to work with you. We will provide you with the money you are going to lose from tax abatement. And asked the school what we needed to do to come to an agreement. The school sent the village a letter listing 6 items, and they said, we will not agree to work with the village unless the village agrees to all 6 items. The village drew up a contract agreeing to every one of the 6 items, including making the school whole, giving them 100% of whatever they would lose from tax abatements. The school then sent us a letter saying, we will not accept the conditions that we set forth. The school walked away from $23 million that they would receive over 26 years. I want to work with the schools and provide them with funds, but it takes a partnership. We can't give them money if they won't work with us. I see you're shaking your head. These are the facts. People have talked about People have talked about getting businesses on Main Street. We have a development currently underway for apartments, for 500 apartments right on Main Street. The reason you don't have businesses on Main Street is we don't have the foot traffic. Milford and Loveland are doing well. They've got restaurants, they've got businesses. You've got to have foot traffic. And you aren't going to have foot traffic with just wishes and hopes. You've got to have people. We get people by having development and new houses. There's a lot of competition for development. Currently, the village has a community reinvestment area where we are able to abate improvements to property for 15 years. I would like to note that although we have one, there are currently 6 others in Claremont County. There are 99 TIFs in Claremont County. 6 of those are in Batavia Township. 47 of those are in Union Township. Every one of those TIFs, every one of those CRAs provide incentives to people who want to come and build houses, build businesses, and the village, if we're going to grow, have to compete. Again, I believe that the village has done everything above board. We have tried to work with the school. We're being very successful in what we're doing. I think we're in the right path, and I hope that you will give some understanding to what is really happening and not assume that somehow we are stealing money from the school, that we have bad faith. I support everything we're doing and want to continue it. and I hope that I have educated you tonight.
John Waite. Thank you, John. Our next speaker is Laurie Zagar.
That's a hard act to follow. Try to see this here. My name is Lori Zagar, and I'm proud to call the village of Batavia my home. I've lived here since 1996, and my husband, Greg Zagar, is a lifelong resident. Oops, I'm sorry. Let's see. We are still living in his parents' home that they built in 1963. Greg graduated from Batavia High School in 1979, and together we've raised a blended family of 4 children, 3 of whom have graduated from Batavia High School. We are active members in Holy Family Church. It's formerly Holy Trinity in St. Louis. The 4 parishes have joined together, and are deeply connected to the community. Greg, now retired from Claremont County, also dedicated 10 years to coaching tennis at Batavia High School. I've worked for Claremont County for 32 years, currently serving as an investigator at the Child Support Department. In this role, I manage felony cases, refer cases to the prosecutor's office, and testify before grand jury, and oversee clients on the diversion program. This work has given me the extensive experience working with attorneys, judges, and in difficult situations. I've learned to find reasonable resolutions, often thinking creatively beyond standard procedures. These problem-solving skills and my ability to work under pressure would serve me well on village council. Why I'm running. We love the village of Batavia, as everyone has stated here today, and care deeply about the future of the village. I believe in responsible, well-planned growth that benefits everyone and preserves the character of our community. This means working closely with our police and fire departments, local schools, and other partners to ensure strong, sustainable development that meets long-term needs. I've been attending council meetings regularly and have seen firsthand the frustration residents feel when they are not heard. If elected, I will listen and respond to the community's concerns. While not every issue can be discussed publicly in full, open and honest communication is essential for building trust. Leadership means more than just following the rules. It means doing what's right, fair, and transparent. My priorities. If elected, I will focus on reviewing the village spending to ensure fiscal responsibility, ensuring all departments are properly budgeted and resourced, opposing the misuse of emergency voting, reserving it for true emergencies. Standing against the Community Reinvestment Acts, the CRAs, that don't support balanced, responsible growth for the entire community. I believe in integrity, accountability, and working with the community, not around it. I hope to earn your support so we can work together as neighbors and partners to build a better future for Batavia.
Lori Zagar. Thank you, Lori. Our next speaker is Randy Dorsey.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad you all made it out. My name is Randy Dorsey. I'm running for village council. Because I believe in this community, I love Batavia. You can ask any of my friends, they'll be like, he loves Batavia. I just do. And, you know, I grew up just outside the village in the township, but I always rode my bike down the Ridge Club Trail and down to the village to go get baseball cards. And, you know, I'd really like to see the Main Street thrive again. You know, over the past few years, we've watched decisions being made, and they just don't quite reflect the will or best interests of the people who live here. We've watched financial choices that put our future at risk, and we've watched council that has too often dismissed residents rather than listening to what they all seem to need. I feel like we deserve better, and that's one reason why I'm standing before you today. I think, first and foremost, the reason I'm running is because I don't want Batavia to be dissolved. We're at a real critical crossroads, and the decisions that are being made in the coming months will determine whether this village survives or not. We cannot sit back and allow the current council to continue down a reckless path. For too long, they've ignored residents, dismissed legitimate concerns, and pushed forward with policies that upset constituents and undermine the financial stability of our community. If we don't move in a new direction, the voters will dissolve the village. It's that simple. We need leadership that listens, communicates honestly, and respects the people who live here. We need to bring common sense and accountability back to council before it's too late. You know, let's talk a little bit about finances. I know everyone I've heard said we want Batavia to be a Milford or a Loveland. But the truth is Milford and Loveland didn't get their nightlife in commercial areas just through abatements. They benefited from strong planning, prime locations, diverse commercial tax base that has allowed their communities to thrive. Abatements were just one tool that they used. Batavia has already abated over $40 million in residential property value, which is far more than Milford's $18 million and Loveland's like $2 or $3 million. Those cities' commercial growth offset the losses. Batavia does not have that same capacity. Honestly, I think most of us, myself included, thought the village would do one abatement community and then stop. You know, historically, Batavia kind of has the reputation of upsetting everybody, and then about every 10 years, and they let it settle down a while, but that's not what happened here. Instead, they have not exercised any restraint. The village has kept plowing forward, planning as many abated and annexed residential communities as possible. There was no pause to evaluate the impact, no meaningful conversation with residents, schools, or neighboring jurisdictions, just full steam ahead, regardless of the consequences. We have to have a smarter strategy than that, one that encourages development without bankrupting our future. Residential abatements that are large, that we've done, should be rare, targeted, and carefully planned. It should not be a blanket policy that we just continue to use. You know, I think one of the other things I want to mention here is that, you know, the new communities that we have annexed in have not just, they've not really been in the village. They've been on the outskirts. They've been out 32, down 32, and it does make you wonder, in the time that the village has done that, why didn't Chipotle build in the village of Batavia? Why did they build on Bauer Road? Why did, you know, whatever else, the coffee shop up there, why didn't they build in the village? Because businesses are smarter than just looking at a map and saying, oh, that population is this much, it's grown, we should build there. They look at population density and say, this area has a lot of people. All this council has done is shifted where Main Street is from the village of Batavia to Bauer Road, or to wherever those neighborhoods are being built. So if they really want to make change, they got to invest down here. You know, I think one of the biggest things I'd like to see brought back to council is professionalism and respect. I mean, I've watched council members here talk down to residents, dismiss valid concerns,
behave in ways that intrudes our trust. It's time to restore professionalism. That means treating everyone, residents, staff, business owners, and one another with respect. It means recognizing that public service is about humility, not about ego. As a council member, I plan to listen, respond thoughtfully, and never forget who I work for. People of Batavia. I won't also forget where I came from and what our community is created by, who the people work for. We have a lot of hard-working, blue-collar people here, and that makes a difference. That makes a difference. That's not why we're not necessarily Milford and why we're not necessarily Loveland. We're different. And that's still a good thing, but we're not them. I think one of the biggest frustrations I hear over and over again is that people don't know what's going on. Business owners say they simply don't know, even homecoming. They didn't know what day the road was going to be changed. I think we need to increase how we communicate with each other. We need to have a much more friendlier website. I believe there should be able to be a notification set up with groups that business owners can register for, and when something happens that they need to maybe change when the massage parlors, they know that they need to reschedule appointments because there's no parking, that a text could go out to those people. Detailed minutes of agendas and detailed minutes or detailed itineraries of what's going to be on there. They have been bland, they have lacked details, and frankly, it's been kind of a disgrace because they will say, you should come to the council meeting, but there's still nothing in the minutes. The 5 W's, who, what, where, how, and why, those things, those should all be in there for every item. Partnerships matter. Batavia is not on an island. We live right here in the heart of Claremont County. We're part of a network of partnerships that keep our community safe. One of the most important of those, I would say, is the Central Joint Fire Department. We're not just customers of this service. I think we have forgotten that we're co-owners. It's time that we start acting like it. That means paying our fair share, showing up to meetings, being at the table with professionalism, respect, and a commitment to collaboration, which I feel has not happened at that table. It means supporting our first responders, understanding the shared responsibilities we have, and making decisions that strengthen, not strain those partnerships. Fire and EMS is not an optional service. They're critical to the safety of our families, and our role as co-owners comes across with both privilege and responsibility, and we need to step up to that. Let me just kind of be clear here is, I am not for the abatements. The ones that are in place, they're already there. They're not going anywhere. But it has a cost. And that cost is every single government entity that receives tax dollars. This village they want them to come beg for money. And the truth of the matter is we're the ones that took their financial stability away. And so we really have to work as a team, announce these partnerships collaboratively together instead of saying, we made a deal. Well, that didn't really work out too well, did it? But if we really made a deal, the school and this entity should have made that announcement together. That's how collaboration works. Next November, there's a good possibility this village could not exist. It could be dissolved. That's not speculation. It's a legal and financial possibility if this village continues down this unsustainable path. And if that happens, Batavia doesn't just lose its identity, we lose all control. Decisions, zoning, roads, growth, the future be made by everybody else besides us. I love Batavia. I chose to raise my family here for a reason. I believe in this village, but let's be honest, we're really the last hope here. This election isn't about party or personality. It's about whether Batavia remains Batavia. It's about whether we hand our kids a thriving community or a future that we want to avoid. So I'm asking for your trust. Together we can chart a better course, and together we can make Batavia strong and hopefully grow. Thank you.
Randy Dorsey. Thank you, Randy. We have one more speaker. The other candidate who is not here is Adam Craver, and he has work requirements that would not allow him to come. Apparently he works every night till about 10 o'clock. I did offer him the opportunity to send something that we would read on his behalf, and he delivered that to my house today at about 5 o'clock. I have asked Joanne Martino to read it. I have a difficult reading without more light than we've got here. Maybe some of you older folks can know what I'm talking about there. I've asked Joanne Martino to read that for me. So Joanne, would you come forward? This is written by Adam Craver.
I'm Joanne Martino, and I am a village resident. I'm not Adam Craver tonight. My name is Adam Craver. I have lived in Batavia all my life. I'm a district supervisor for Ohio Search and Rescue and have been for 25 years. I'm also a certified tracker for the state of Ohio. I work side by side with our law enforcement, fire, and first responders. I work with people in the general public every day and other agencies for the better outcome in things. I did not place signs due to having family obligations that were more important to me than spending money on signs that I do not have in pocket. Word of mouth for me works better. Anyone that knows me knows that I am not a person to sway easily, and I must find out the facts for myself to get the truth and not words that have been blown out of context. I believe in myself to be transparent, open, and truthful. I do not believe that anything pertaining to the growth and prosperity of the village should be withheld from the people. This is who I am. I am running for the seat on council because I have seen the decline of the village, and I want to be able to do something that will stop it. What used to be pleasant and beautiful has become stagnant and diminishing. I am not a yes person, and by that I mean I have to research and investigate the matter before I give an answer. The housing that council and zoning approved with the tax abatements are not in the best interest of the village. Why? Because it's going to be a tax increase for the villagers, and they are already taxed a lot. The bulletin or page that was placed as a nice place to walk to school was a lie. The schools are not in the village, so a child would have to walk 3.1 miles up a hill to school from Main Street in the village. Now take that into consideration on these houses and condos being built on the outside of town. Our children that live in the village are bused or driven to school by their parents because the school was moved out of the village. Who's getting the money from these developments? The developers, that's who. And what was the real reason for the school to refuse the contract? That is what I would like to know and hear from the school board or whoever is in charge. One person on council said the school has enough money. As I said, I'd like to hear from whoever it is that has the authority to speak on it and show us. Something just doesn't sit well. The clarity and transparency is not there. Everyone on that council board is a yes person and needs to be new people on the board that has the village and the people at the head that will be truthful and forthcoming. This village used to be so nice and beautiful. People cared and was open to committees on different things. But now with the way things are going and governed by the people on council, this village is going to go into being another obsolete town. I don't want to see that happen, and I don't want to see us enveloped in the township. This village needs to be stood up for by people willing to give their all and be open and truthful to the people, not go along with the wrong type that says yes and don't care what they say yes to. Adam Craver.
Thank you, Joanne. That was Adam Craper. Okay. Next phase we're going to get into, and our questions that you might have for the candidates. I have one general question, and it's more of a confirmation, I guess, of what, or summary of what's been said, but somebody sent this to me, and I said I would ask it. I would just like to ask all the candidates, would you consider additional growth? Would you consider additional growth through annexation? Anyone in favor of that, would you raise your hand? Okay. Would you consider additional concessions, 15-year tax abatements to incentivize growth? Who would be in favor of that? Oh.
There's a lot of factors that is not even close to covering involved in that. With those very specific conditions in place, I say yes. It's not something as simple as a yard sign. It's very complicated.
I understand, Jason. Thank you. Thank you, John, for your comments. Is there anyone else that has any questions of the council folks? If so, if you could make your way to the middle. Here, sir. If you could stand and give us your name and where you live in Batavia.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody for being up there tonight. I've been in that position before running for a council for a city, so I know what you can go through, so thank you very much in your service. My name's John Sheehy. My wife and I just moved to the township, not the village, 8 months ago. We grew up in Milford, Ohio. Graduated from Milford High School in '86. We saw a lot of development there while we were gone for the last 24 years in a little city in Central Florida. Very much like Milford was when we left, and like Batavia is right now. Is a county seat. It has a river. It had a downtown area that was very historic. It actually was the first city in Florida to have lights and a post office, and has the first private university in Florida. When we went there, you could literally go out at 8 o'clock on a Friday night and walk across the street without.
And do you have a question?
I do. I'm getting to that. Thank you very much. Just like you could here without looking both ways. There's a lot going on in Batavia, a lot to be considered. The annexation, I can understand why, but the abatements is something that really needs to be considered very heavily. For those with a business degree and those without also, the 80-20 rule comes into effect, and that should be thought of and taken into consideration with that. If you're looking for your downtown to be vibrant and money to come in, 80% of that money being spent in downtown is going to come from the local residents in that area. 20% is going to come from outside that area. I'm
looking for a question.
It's coming right now. Thank you.
And what is it?
The question is, can I have the microphone, please? This is an open forum, right?
Go ahead.
Thank you. The question is, if you want to make it a vibrant downtown, but you have to pass what seems to be coming down the pike, such as levies to support those services that aren't being paid for by these new subdivisions, it's going to come out of the people who's living here already. How are they going to take that $500 to $2,000 taxes that you're taking away and spend it downtown if you're taking it out of their pockets? How is it going to be vibrant? What is your plan to give something back to the township, to the village, to get them incentivized to come downtown when other developments aren't paying that amount, but getting the services that we're paying for? Thank you for the time.
All right, thank you. And do you have a question?
That was my question.
Okay. Would you like to, anyone like to field that? All right. It does. Thank you.
May I address that as well?
Wish you would.
The gist of your question is basically how you're going to get people downtown, right?
I wasn't clear on the question, so I don't have an answer. I'd like to hear a single sentence question.
You want to summarize your question again?
How would you incentivize people to come downtown if they're being overtaxed by things that have to make up for from the abatements that aren't being paid for into the city, such as special services and such? How are you going to get people to come downtown and make it a vibrant area and spend their money there?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So the question basically is, how are you going to bring people downtown?
The incentive is to put things into Main Street Business District that people are looking for. The only way to find that out is by asking and having that dialogue with residents and township residents to find out what amenities they're looking for. You can come in today and take an empty building and put a microbrew. If everyone decides that they're going to be non-alcoholic, then the microbrew's not going to satisfy their needs. So I think what we look at is what people want and then work from there. It could be microbrews. A lot of people are baking out of their homes, or selling products like that, selling in farmers market. Maybe something like a micro center where people can rent time to use the kitchen. If that is warranted, if people ask for that, if they want it. And the only way to determine that is by talking to people, whether it's in surveys, polls, social media, whatever.
Thank you. Sir, thank you for your question. And along your question, I would like to ask, I was told the, okay, Tom, go ahead, sure. He's got his own microphone there. Can you turn it on?
So I don't know exactly how to get businesses down here, but one thing I do know is I don't want another vape store down here. I don't want another smoke shop down here. That's not the type of business that we need to attract. And something that's more family oriented, something, you know, that will speak to families and not, you know, maybe that's the wrong thing to say, but that's just me being honest, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So
Okay. Along with this gentleman's question.
Can I have a shot?
Okay, another shot. Jason.
To address the vape store, the woman owns the building, lives in it, and her daughter took over the space that was vacant as an attempt to do something. Yeah, it's less than ideal, but she owns the building and she lives in it and runs the business out of it. So just so everybody knows that you can't tell them not to do what they want with their space. You can't. County does the permitting, not the village. So just to be clear, that's who that was. They didn't come from out of town to open a vape shop.
All right.
But how do you incentivize people to come down to your village? As I stated before, without the population in place, we're not going to get the investment. And without the investment, we're not going to get the incentives. And those are all the goals, and those are all the dreams that we're working to achieve. And that's how we're doing it. And I would imagine the city in Florida that you're speaking of, they had a similar strategy. And that's exactly what we're doing here. It takes rooftops. Thank you.
One other comment. Randy?
Yeah, I was just, you know, I think one thing that the village could do is use our CIC to revitalize some areas. For example, you know, it wasn't too long ago that the village owned the old village, the village hall, the old post office. Mm-hmm. They had the fire department, and they owned the coroner's office. They owned almost an entire block of Main Street. And although it takes money, you know, right now we don't have many buildings that are ready to have a restaurant put in without some major upgrades. We just don't have the storefronts that support local people to put local businesses in, like a diner or something. But we could have taken that block, maybe found a developer that wanted to buy that or get involved with us with the CIC somehow and create a new block with mixed-use development, residents above, give it a historic front to it so it matches the charm of our community, and then we'd actually have rentable space that actually could be used. Right now, we just have buildings that need a lot of work, and it costs a lot of money, and for people that are local, it's a little out of our reach to do that. And I think with strategizing our CIC better, I think we potentially could revitalize or do that. But we sold those buildings, so we don't own those anymore, those properties. So, thanks.
We're going to move on to another question.
Hi, I'm Amy Smith. I'm a village resident. I have two questions, actually. One, I was at the council meeting when Ken Geist spoke and was telling the council how to remain a village. I remember the number was 10,000 was a magic number of population. Is that correct? 5,000. I'm curious where we are now.
A little over 2, under 3, something like that. Yeah.
So we still haven't, and does that make us maintain as a village, or is that a different category at that point?
You're a village until you reach 5,000.
Okay.
And, wait a second, and the determination as to whether you become a city wouldn't happen until you have an official census in 2030.
Okay, thank you for answering that. And then my other one is, I'm curious from the current council members, I keep hearing that these tax abatements mean more higher taxes for the villagers. Is that true or not true?
No.
That is untrue.
Okay. There are other expenses, though, that may be generated along with that, and that would be maybe levies from the different organizations.
I have a comment for Mr. Dorsey talking about the fire department. The TIFs that the Batavia Township have cost the fire department $500 million. $500,000
Annually.
annually.
I thought Batavia Township didn't have any TIFs. It's a county TIF.
Nope.
They don't.
They will say that.
It was put in by the county.
There are 6 TIFs in the township, and those townships are, whether they were county or township, those TIFs in the township have cost the fire department $500,000 a year, every year.
20 years now.
And they also pay a lot more, the township residents pay a lot more towards the operation of the fire department, obviously because they're bigger, so they pay a bigger portion.
All right, we're going to move on to another question.
It's just a real quick, name is Greg Zagar. Just got a question. Mr. Gibson, you said that the county authorized those businesses?
I'm sorry?
You said
permits.
Permits?
Okay. Permit Central is
okay,
up the
I just want to know, is that changed recently? Or
No.
because I had a friend that had a business that they went through council to get approved. So do you approve it? Then they have to get the permit and can be denied? I'm just curious. I had a good friend that basically got permitted through the village.
The village has a zoning department.
Yes.
When you go to Claremont County for any type of a permit, they then ask if it complies with local zoning. So what happens is you go to the county, say, I want a building permit for whatever purpose, and then you have to come to the village to get a zoning permit, which is typically $50. And then you take that permit back to the county, and the county issues the permit.
Okay, this was approval to get the business. That's what I'm asking. Does
No.
that answer my question?
We only have zoning. So does the business meet local zoning? In
Okay,
other
this
words-
lady I was talking about had to be approved by council. Is that changed? Or do you still have to approve the business?
I'd like to know what it is you're referring to.
A business that was basically over on the other side of town. Becky Stowell, probably 15 to 20 years ago,
was before my
opened a
time.
little shop. Well,
Yeah.
it's still, is
I don't
the
know what's
law
changed.
changed? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't know what's changed since.
That's all I want to know.
Thank you. Be back in a minute.
Yeah, I'm Judy Miller. I own property in the village. I live in the township now just because I needed a one-floor plan house. But in any event, one candidate mentioned the fact that they were opposed to dissolving the village. I'd like to know how each of you other candidates stand on that issue.
Thank you. Is anyone, Michael?
I oppose it. I don't want to see the village dissolved. I think can do a good job, but yes, I oppose it.
Mike Kinner.
I wouldn't be sitting here if I believed in dissolving the village. If the people put it on the ballot after I'm in office, then I'll have to work through that.
The village will not and cannot be dissolved. Because we are the county
Yeah,
seat,
just a couple questions.
if for some reason the residents of the village decided to vote to dissolve the village, it would then go to the Ohio legislature, who would have to also approve that. And for the village to be dissolved, the county would have to have selected a subsequent county seat. And that county seat cannot be a township, it must be a village or city. And if the village were dissolved, then the new county seat would have to build the new public buildings. And I want to know who's going to provide the $100 million to build a new courthouse in whatever village you choose. Therefore, the fact that people are saying the village is going to be dissolved is just a pipe dream. It will never happen.
I'm not going to debate Mr. Wade, but I can say if you look at the information, I believe the number's 8, and I don't have it with me, but there are 8 townships in the state of Ohio that have county seats within them that are not in a municipality.
Next question.
My name is Steve Fry. I've been here since 2013. Got 3 kids in the Batavia school system. Mike, I want to thank you for all that you did for Batavia. When I moved here, you were a police chief, and you had a lot to do with that, so thank you. Just a couple quick questions. By a show of hands, do you believe that Batavia Village is at a crossroads? I know Jason said, raise a hand. Do you believe Batavia Village is at a crossroads? Okay. Next question.
Can you define the crossroads? I mean, there are a lot of changes coming, but.
Well, I only got a few
what's the
questions.
crossroads?
Second question. So, you know, we're here tonight not to talk about stuff like a council meeting. We're here tonight not just to meet the candidates, but to get to know the candidates. I don't think we're really getting to know you guys. So I want each one of you to speak, go down the line. We know that Life 101 is a decision-making process. We know as a father we make decisions. We know as a husband we make decisions. We make decisions every day that affect ourselves, our family, and the community around us. And each one of us has a guiding light of how we make decisions. I want to hear from each one of you, so all these people can get to know you better. What is your guiding light on how you go about making decisions?
My guiding light?
Anyone want to?
Yeah, my guiding light has been the input that I've been taking since I got involved with the village council, which is, and I think it's pretty unanimous when it comes to anybody that lives down here in the historic district, that everybody wants Main Street to be something that it currently is not. And I have been working with every administrator we've had and with every mayor that we've had to try and find a formula that will get us progress and consistent, reliable growth and sustainable businesses on Main Street.
Tom, your guiding light.
My faith is my guiding light. You know, I'm going to pray about every decision I make. I'm going to seek some counsel from friends and people that I respect and know. I'm going to receive input from, a lot of different people. I'm going to talk to my wife about it. I'm going to have a lot of discussions, but ultimately, I'm going to sleep well at night because I'm going to pray about it, and that's going to be my guiding light.
Excellent. Mike Kinner.
God, family, and country.
Good.
In this case, it's not country, it's community, which all of you are my community.
John Wade.
It's a determination that whatever you're doing is going to make things better, or certainly not make things worse.
Okay.
I agree with
Lori.
Tom. I answer to a higher authority than this council.
Excellent. Mike?
Sorry.
Knowledge, that's what keeps me going. I love to learn, I love to find facts, and just the knowledge of learning.
And Randy Dorsey.
I also have a strong sense of faith, pray a lot. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling what's right. But also just, when you think about making decisions, talk to the people that's really going to affect. How does this impact other people? Try to put yourself in their position. Try to look from a different viewpoint, because sometimes we get so siloed in life about what we're passionate about or what we do that we forget that there's somebody on the other side of that. So I think I always try to look from another perspective to make sure we're making the best decision possible.
Excellent. Any other questions? One more. Are you with the resident of the village?
I am.
Excellent.
Yeah. My name's Josh. I live a few blocks from this building. I'm a resident of the village since 2019. I moved here from Washington Heights, Manhattan, New York City. We started a development, probably $80 or $100 million project in 2013 with abatements on the table. And so this is my experience anyway. I moved from Manhattan to here in 2019, and I love it here. Oh my God. If you visited New York City, it's nice to visit, but I'm glad I live here now. So what caught my attention maybe 6 months ago or in the papers was a New York City developer coming here to Batavia to build a big project or some building, and so I just, I couldn't even find a place, just who are the current members. I was told there's several councils that all work together. It seems to be like the finger pointing. So as far as I understand, Jason is a sitting council member, and the gentleman in the middle, Mike, was that you?
No.
John Wade.
Oh, John.
No, I'm not currently a council member. I'm the fiscal officer for the village.
Well, my question is, who votes? Does the fiscal officer vote on abatements, or does Jason, the council member? Like, we're meeting the candidates, but will you be on the ballot as a fiscal officer or as a council? I'm just trying to figure out now, right? Who are we meeting here tonight? That would be my first question. And second, those that would decide who gets the abatements or not, which of those tonight would be responsible for that vote going forward?
Excellent question. I can answer part of that. All 8 of these gentlemen and ladies are running for 4 seats on the council. They will make the decisions relative to annexation, abatements, whatever.
4. And
4.
one of them is
4 out of these 8.
Right. So one is running for
Jason
re-election.
Gibson is an incumbent. He is running for re-election. That is
The
correct.
others are not running for a re-election.
They are looking for filling the position.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Last question.
Bill Albright, they all know me. You got a village here, you all want your butts in them seats. 2 of you are already there. They're not giving, no, he's there, he's already there, he's trying to get reelected to a different spot. But anyway, y'all want your butts in that seat. You have a village now, half the village not paying taxes with them tax abatements. You're $7 million in the hole. They have 0 amount of money set aside for the school. 0 money set aside for the fire department for the first 3 tax abated things. They don't take a contract, come up with a number, bud. How are you going to take $7 million in the hole? Take back your village like them signs say. Save your school. Save your resources.
I've got no idea what you're talking about with $7 million in the hole.
It's your own financial paper from your last meeting. I got it in the truck and I'll bring it in here and show it.
You talking about debt?
Talking about debt. Are you going to take $7 million in debt? It's right there.
Mr. Albright, I'll address that.
Yeah, we can,
Everybody else can take turns, I guess. but
if you do that,
I
I
think the
would
way to look
appreciate
at
it.
it is to do a complete analysis of what the assets are for the village, what the current income is, and what the current debt is. You're going to balance that out and see what can be cut, what can be sold, what can be done to pay that debt off, as well as compensate those entities that should be getting that money. So you have to, it's just the same as in your home. You look at your finances to see how you're going to pay your bills. That's what I believe we should do, a complete audit of the village finances, look at all of the buildings that are owned, all of the assets that we have, and determine their necessity, and if they can be liquidated, and if any of that money can be used then to be put towards paying off that debt and paying all of those entities.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to have another. What? I'm sorry, Lori. Yeah.
I'm a little confused.
Turn on your mic.
I'm sorry. I'm a little confused with the statement that Mr. Gibson said earlier. I just wanted to clarify, is he for the CRAs or he's against the CRAs? Because all the voting in all the years I've seen, he's voting for the CRAs, you know, that he likes them. So I just wanted clarification. Is he against them or is he for them?
I am 100% for the CRA. That could be Randy Dorsey having a tax abatement to any work that he does to his house. It could be a subdivision. There's a lot of other uses besides what everybody's contentious question marks are regarding the developments. Those can be community reinvestment area. So the entirety of downtown Cincinnati is a CRA. Yep. Right. So exactly where I was headed with that. So we aren't the only CRA on the planet. It's used a lot. It's a state-provided tool for rejuvenation of generally when it was conceptualized of a blighted area. That was 1977. It's seen several rewrites since, opening it up to commercial and residential. Primarily, to her point, when we first made the village a CRA, that was to facilitate rehabilitation of homes that were dilapidated. You want to add a square footage to your house, you could apply to be part of the CRA, and you could have that addition to your home abated for X amount of time. Okay? The state rewrote the laws to where that could be applied to land that was not in use, and that's how we got here today. That land sat vacant, unused, somebody bought it, and we ended up annexing it because township would not allow him to do what he wanted with his own land. He came to us and said, hey, if I annex into the village, can I use it for this purpose? And we all talked about it, and we said, absolutely. The tax abatements then apply, and most of these, other than one subdivision, have a pilot program, which is payment in lieu of taxes. So the new homeowner, to be clear for everyone, they aren't paying no taxes in these situations. The plat of land underneath the house is not abated. So as an example, the land up by the airport, that property pays around $1,500 or less annually to the school. Each plat, when it's subdivided, will pay about that to the school for the land alone. The home then is abated. The home then is abated. That then can or cannot have a pilot program applied to it, payment in lieu of taxes. That money is then, much like a TIF, is captured by the municipality and can be distributed by the municipality. The advantage to the village, why do we use the tool? We get very, very, very small amounts of property taxes. In the case of a tax abated development like that with a pilot program, we get maybe double our 4% in a best case scenario, our 4% that we would normally get of a property. But then we can say, by law, we have to call in the schools and say, hey, do you want to participate? And they have the option to say yes or no. And for whatever reason, inexplicably, in every scenario, Millard has walked away. Even when he said, this is the only way I will participate.
He then said, oh, you're willing to do that? And then for some reason, with no real explanation, backed out of the situation. It's a intergovernmental agreement. It's an ironclad contract. There's no way that we can breach it.
I think we have to remember that the schools don't just make decisions just because Millard doesn't want to do it. They have lawyers. I mean, they have things reviewed, and you know, I'm sure it was looked over by a lawyer before they turned it down.
Well, something I'd like to add to what's part of this discussion, and we've all had a show of hands for different things. How many people sitting in the audience believe that they live in a blighted area? Blight.
That was the original use.
Amen, brother.
That was the original use.
Yeah.
That was the original writing in 1977.
Yeah, the definition, blighted, is when you go to the, no, I'm not, sorry. Yeah, I'm not trying to talk down to you, Greg. I'm just explaining.
Where are we going with this?
The word blighted is what's used by the Ohio Department of Development as part of approving a CRA, okay? So with the application, and this is something I haven't seen, I haven't gone to Columbus, I haven't done a FOIA to pull a copy of it, but that application that was presented on behalf of the Village of Batavia to the Ohio Department of Development declared all of the village, and now including what's being annexed, as blighted. So like this gentleman said, you think about places in the Bronx, you think about here, you talk about over the Rhine, that's our blighted, okay? Norwood, when the GM plant pulled out and the building sat empty for years and years and years, that's blighted. I don't think Wood Street's blighted. Those of you I see in here that live on Wood Street, it's not blighted. There may be things that aren't like Indian Hill, but we're not blighted.
All right. Lori, can you turn your mic on, please?
I'm sorry. I did have a second part to that question for Jason, because it sounds like that he is for the CRAs and wants to go forward with that.
He indicated that he is, yes.
Yes. Why would he just put a sign in his yard next to his reelection sign that says he is not for abatements, no more abatements? That to me is deceiving if he sits here tonight and says that he is for the CRAs, but has a sign in his yard next to his name that says he's against the CRAs.
Unconditional abatements. Unconditional abatements. I 100% agree with that. There's no qualification to what that sign means. I do agree with it.
Randy?
Yeah,
Last comment.
I just wanted to kind of clarify. I do live in a historic home on North Street. We did apply for a historic CRA. We pay taxes on the value of our home, but not the improved amount. That is very different than if you get a piece of farmland and build a house, and that's a CRA property. They're only paying taxes on the value of the land, not the structure at all. So there's a huge discrepancy in how much taxes are being paid. And that, I think historic or blighted homes or blighted properties that are improved, that can be improved, I think it does give our residents, those are one-off. Those are a house here and there. Those don't have that great of an impact on our schools as when you are bringing in 800 houses and they're not paying their fair share. There's a huge difference between the two.
All right, thank you very much. I do have to I'm going to just ask one more question, and it's relative what this gentleman asked originally, getting people on Main Street. I've been told that in someone's opinion, the housing development at the Red Barn area is maybe one of the best things that ever happened to the village for this reason. And I believe John referred to it, and Jason did also, that we have to have critical mass before we have businesses. The approach from the village has always been to try and bring in businesses without people. I always assumed the demographic of the area was conducive to having businesses on Main Street. But apparently the school of thought is that you have critical mass people, which the Red Barn place is going to generate. And it's an added benefit that the people aren't even going to require parking because they'll be able to walk across the bridge and support businesses in the village. I'd just be interested in any comments you might have, and this will be the last question of the evening so people can get home. Let's start, Randy, would you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just want us to think
Let's make our comments as brief as we can.
all right, it's by a chemical company and a sewer plant, and that I'd have been on board with it if they'd have been condos.
Michael, do you have an answer?
The only issue that I have with it is I agree with the building being built, and I know there was traffic studies done, but there's no way that we're gonna be able to handle the impact flow of the traffic from there. And there should have been some more pre-planning with that.
Point well taken.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, let's go down the line, Lori.
I believe, and I have been at the meetings where I see that the decisions that are made are basically to salvage previous decisions of the CIC. So when you give somebody a mortgage for their business and you fund that through the CIC, other decisions made by council are always aimed at making sure that that business in particular is a success, which I totally understand that, because as all taxpayers, we're paying for basically we funded that mortgage. So we want that money to come back in, but I think it should be done reasonably with the decisions on what they do, not some quick fire decision on throwing up 500 apartments so that the owner of Bean and Brew can make his mortgage payment to the CIC. Am I making sense on my thought there? We're making the decisions on the growth too quick to salvage a poor decision that we made previously. I hope I explained that.
I can clarify the timeline there.
John, would you like to take a shot at it?
Yeah, I think that the apartments are going to be a critical mass that will result in, is yet to determine, new businesses, hopefully new restaurants in downtown, that we will fill some storefronts, and then, hopefully it's a domino effect and that causes some other development. The CIC, which is Community Investment Corp., the purpose of which is to encourage new businesses and business growth. The loan to Bean and Brew had nothing to do with the apartments, because those weren't even considered at that time. Bean and Brew has been making their
Okay.
payments, so it's not a problem.
Michael, we're out of the Bean and Brew.
I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think I'm going to agree with Mrs. Zager, and what she's talking about sounds like a bias. I think making that decision based on history and you're trying to correct things is the bias made by that person. I agree with Mr. Wade also. Those apartments are going to create a critical mass. I think it's yet to be seen what that critical mass is, and I don't want to be negative. But I was here the night it was presented, and I listened to that traffic engineer. You can go out there now at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and sit maybe at Dollar General. So there's your part of your critical mass and what you're going to get from that engineering study. And I have quite a bit of background in that. So I don't think it was a good idea, and I'm not in favor of it.
All right. Tom? You have a comment?
One way in, one way out, right?
No,
There's
no,
changing that?
there's a second road over by the railroad that will be.
Yeah, that's.
200 feet away.
It's
It's going to create,
That's nothing.
There are two, and
okay, 2 ways out, 2 ways in, 200 feet apart. All right, not enough, not enough. And, I'm curious to see how it's done.
I think we're all curious.
Yeah, right. And
All right.
I want to see the river walk as well down there. You know, I think that'd be something that I would use. But I think that it is going to create some issues, and you know, I think something across the river, a bridge across the river somehow, you know, would be
That might be
fantastic.
it. Jason. Do you believe that critical mass, having people, is first to bringing in businesses? That's the question.
I know that we've tried everything but this, and nothing sticks.
So you're
It's
saying,
worked as an example in in surrounding areas. It's worked amazingly well for them. There's no reason to doubt that it will in time work amazingly well for us.
Lori, did you have your hand up? One final comment. This is it.
Well, I mean, my comment, I guess, if there's two entrances going out to the main section of the road, then
Right.
you still have that clog. And then I disagreed with, I was here the night that they voted on the apartments, and David Pryor himself said, this will be terrific for Bean and Brew. And then the decisions with the parking lot over here, the same thing. The village bought the property from Mary Moore's uncle. We paid to tear the building down, reinforce the wall, and then they transfer that property into the CIC this year and then do this lease for the dollar. I think that if they're watching out for one business, they should watch out for all businesses down Main Street.
Very good. Thank you. Hey, thanks, everybody. I was very impressed with your presentations. It's obvious you all spent a lot of time doing that, and we appreciate it. Thanks so much. And best of luck in all your candidacies, and I hope you have success. Thank you. Thanks, man. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Actually, we were trying to get
Keep things
questions
moving.
from residents first and township second. So,
Yeah, sure, but I do pay taxes around here, so you know.
Yeah, sure do.
Thanks.